Welcome. In front of me is a Xiaomi Redmi 14C, and today I'll go for unboxing along with a quick look at the phone itself. Okay, let's get straight into it. You have two seals to cut through at the back. There we go. So there we go. Not much in the box. There's just the charging cable, some paperwork, and the phone itself. So at the moment the device is booting up, and in a moment we'll see the display right here with all its bezels. The screen size that we have on this device is a 6.88-inch display with a measly 720 by 1640 p resolution. It's an LCD IPS, but at least it has 120 Hz refresh rate, and the brightness of the display maxes out at 600 nits. It also boasts an 84% screen to body ratio and a pixel density of 260 pixels per inch. So in terms of the display, it's honestly a little bit underwhelming. So yeah. Now, moving over to the camera setup at the back, we have what looks to be a single camera setup, even though there is one that is going to be a camera, but it's absolutely dog shit. And I don't even need to look at the spec sheet to know that. I can probably already guess that this is going to be a 2 megapixel macro or depth sensor, or auxiliary lens, whatever the heck that's supposed to be. So let's see if I'm correct. And yes, I am. It's a depth sensor. It's 2 megapixels. So this right here, if you smash it, scratch it, don't worry, it's absolutely useless. Now, the main sensor right here is a 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture 28mm wide lens, and we also apparently have a 0.08 megapixel auxiliary lens. Where? Huh? Am I blind? Either it's so shit and so small that it's just not even visible, or this is just not correct. Now, that being said, I am pulling all this information from GSM Arena, and they are pretty reliable. If there is a chance that just Xiaomi decided to add something that's probably not even here, just like they added that this device has 16 gigs of RAM. No, it does not. So that's the camera, at least at the back, and at the front we have a 13 megapixel f2.2 aperture. 2.0, not 2.2 aperture. That allows you to record videos at 1080p 30 frames. Now the back cameras itself also allow you to do the same thing, 1080p 30 frames. So not the greatest in terms of recording. So moving on into the internals, we are looking at a 5160 mAh battery. That's pretty good. 16 or 18 watts wired charging, though no charger provided with the budget device, which is a bit of an L. That's, I believe, something that should have been with the device. Sorry for that. So yeah, I believe that's something that should have been included with the device. When you're buying a budget device, chances are you might not have a charger. This might be your first device, and if you're buying a phone that doesn't come with a charger, you're just buying a piece of shit that after a day will be dead. So not the greatest experience, and I absolutely despise the fact that manufacturers can do that. There should be some kind of law against this. Like, it's a device that doesn't function without additional expenses. So yeah, I just have a problem with that. Anyway, so pretty decent battery size in here with I would say all okay charging speed. It's as okay as basically Samsung offers for their premium devices, so can't complain here. We are looking at either 4 or 8 gigabytes of RAM with a Helio G81 Ultra processor. Now, depending on which option you go for, with the storage, you might have either 4 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, and going over the options, actually also 6, and going over the options with the very lowest end one, you get 128 gigs of storage with 4 gigs of RAM, 128 with 6 gigs, and 128 with 8 gigs. Then same thing goes for 256, 4, and 256, 8 gigs. Apparently it skips the 6 gigs for some reason. And that's all you get. Now, additionally, you do have the option to expand the storage on here, so that's pretty good, using the SD card. And last thing that I want to add, when buying this device, I would recommend going for like the 6 gig version. It will cost a little bit more, but it will be a good upgrade for device running Android 14. Having at least 6 gigs of RAM would be fantastic. And again, what it says on the box is just bullshit, so I wouldn't really, base your opinion on that. It's the tiny little print next to it right here, 8 plus 8 gigabytes of gigs of extension. Yeah, no. And I like how they're supposedly saying that it's very misleading, as this is supposed to be RAM 16 gigs. For people that don't know this, I don't know computers too much, RAM is a storage type. It's like calling SSD and HDD and SSD. And for instance, selling a computer with 10 terabytes of SSD where 5 of it is SSD and the other 5 is HDD. You can imagine how absolutely freaking stupid that sounds, because HDD is significantly slower. This is the same exact thing, just they're converting SSD storage into RAM. RAM is insanely faster compared to SSD, and therefore that's why none of the people that have computers put SSDs as RAM. Otherwise we could have terabytes of them. But we don't, for a good reason. So giving you storage as RAM is not a good thing to do. So with that out of the way, let's continue on with the specs. So it's running Android 14, like I mentioned, with a skin over it with Hyper OS, and that's basically the system. Now, outside of that, the price of this device will come at about 200 euros, or no, those are pounds, sorry. But I do want to check it out actually, because there is a bit of a discrepancy between the two different currencies. So I do want to actually have the exact cost for it where I'm in. So we're looking at a price of, that's 800 PLN, which is $200. That includes tax. And this device for $200 arguably is an absolute piece of shit. So, with that being said, I would highly recommend, if you're not in a pinch to have a phone right now, save up a little bit longer and just spend like, what is it going to be, 20 probably dollars more for the Nothing Phone CMF Phone 1. It's going to be an insane upgrade over this one, which doesn't even compare how insanely faster and better everything there will be, while not paying that much more. So from what I remember, the original MSRP of the CMF Phone 1 was $250, but it's been like half a year, and holiday is coming soon, so there's a chance that you might actually have a pretty good discount on that device, and that's probably when I would recommend looking for it. And if you can pick it up at the same price, which honestly isn't out of the realm of unreal expectations, then this device just absolutely does not compare in any kind of way to that CMF phone that I mentioned. Now, I will also add, if you're planning to look at it and also can think about picking it up, don't get fooled by the relatively not that appealing look to it. It's made out of plastic out of the back, but that is done for a good reason, because it allows you to customize it, change the back plates. They're made out of plastic, and it has a wheel that allows you to add attachments to it. So it's done for the user purpose, to upgrade and give it an easy access to replace batteries and all that stuff. And other than that, the processor in there and the display are basically the best things that you can get, especially for that price, being an AMOLED display with high refresh rate and a Dimensity, like mid-range Dimensity processor, which is going to be very fast. It's equivalent to like a Snapdragon 7 Gen 2. So I'd recommend looking into that instead of this, as this is for $200, way too overpriced, and that doesn't really add anything that would justify the price. Even though it tries with the higher refresh rate display, it falls short in basically every other category. So just quickly look at also one last thing. I'm gonna quickly check out exactly the CMF Phone 1, what the processor is, and that is a Dimensity 7300. And giving it a comparison, I want to see what the actual differences are. Yeah, a Dimensity is basically twice as good. Actually, no, I'm sorry, more than twice as fast. In terms of benchmarks, we are looking at 182% better Antutu 10 benchmarks. Geekbench 6 single core specs 148% better. In terms of Geekbench 6 multi-core, 115% better. And yeah, across the board, it's just going to be just stupidly faster device compared to what you get right here for barely any more money. And like I said, if holiday rolls around, which we're approaching it very soon, you might be able to pick up the phone at the same price as this one, which just completely makes this one obsolete. So with that being said, hopefully you found this video helpful, and if you did, don't forget to smash like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.